Welcome to the Quickie Podcast, the daily interview show where we talk to graphic designers about their journey to the creative field. And we do it in 30 minutes or less. So, are you ready for a Quickie?
Cara, welcome to the Quickie Podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing terrific. Thanks so much for joining me and for your patience on my wild schedule on this side.
Yes, of course.
Are you ready for a Quickie?
Absolutely.
Happy days. Well, let's start with a tough question. Briefly tell the listeners about yourself.
My name is Cara Hibbs. I've been working full-time for myself as an illustrator and printmaker for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm married. I've been married for 13 years. I got married young. We have one son, and I live in the Northwest near Portland, and I really like the Pacific Northwest.
Awesome. So what led to the decision for you to become a printmaker yourself? What's the path to get there?
So I went to art school. I went to the Pacific Northwest College of the Arts for a year, and I really liked it, but two things were I ran out of money. It was pretty expensive to go to art school.
Yep.
And one of my professors one day was talking to us in class, and he asked, when you graduate from art school, like, what do you hope to have? Like, what do you think your edge is going to be? And everyone was like, oh, a degree. We'll have a degree, and that will help us get a job. And he said, well, no, you'll have a portfolio.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, that's so crazy. I'm running out of money. It's pretty expensive. And if the degree doesn't really matter as much as my body of work, maybe I don't need to kill myself with student debt to pursue this. And so that's, that's when I left the art school and kind of was taking a little bit of a break because through the process of all of that, I got a little bit burnt out with all the assignments and the homework and everything. And so I just kind of took a break, and my husband and I were actually managing the office of a storage facility for a while he was pursuing a degree in nursing. And with my downtime, I started making again just for fun out of enjoyment. And my husband's pretty creative too. And so we started actually doing block printing, and we're making stuff for our family and for ourselves and just really enjoying the process of all of that. And it was back when Etsy was really new. We just heard of Etsy, and I was like, oh, I bet we could list some things on here and sell it. And it just kind of took off. And the thing I thought would be a little bit of a hobby outlet for me creatively became a full-time job unexpectedly.
Totally. So when you're making this block printing, like, did you buy a little like table-sized equipment to do this, or how were you doing this?
We bought because my husband was part of it too. We got a few different types of blocks. Some of them were just like the rubber. There were some others that were like more of the wood blocks, and we really liked the rubber stamps, just like the pink rubber. And the process of carving these details out was really fun, to make a design and carve it out and print it on fabric, and just kind of the tactile aspects of all of it, just start to finish, creating something and then having a useful object at the end. It was just really fun for us to do all of that. So yeah, we started with the blocks, and then as the business got busier, we were realizing we weren't going to be able to make as much as we were selling with hand printing all of these designs. And so that's when we kind of stepped into screen printing, which is a little bit more fast flowing. It allowed us to make more quicker. So, and it was it's a different look. I love the block printed look, but the screen print definitely has a cleaner, crisper finished image, and it opens up a lot of doors of what you can do with it with block printing.
That's so cool. So I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more. But before I do, I want to kick it back to childhood. What was your childhood like? And do you feel you had a creative childhood that showed you this world or pointed you in this career path?
The first memory I have of really being drawn to illustration was when I was in preschool, probably about 3 years old. One of my preschool teachers would always, just for fun, draw us pictures. I think it was just to keep us busy, distracted.
Yeah.
And she would draw pictures of people. And I just remember as a little kid thinking, she's so amazing. Like, these pictures are awesome. So I remember from a really little age trying to copy that, like trying to draw pictures the way that she did, because I thought it was just so cool. And I feel like that's what really led me into loving the process of drawing. And so I wouldn't say that it was like a really nurtured thing throughout my childhood. It was kind of something I personally loved. But I think even now there's a lot of mindset where like art is a nice hobby, but it's not a career. And so I feel like that was kind of a family view of like, oh, it's nice that you like to do this, or it's nice that you're good at this, but it wasn't ever like, oh, you should pursue this.
It's nice that you have a great hobby.
Yeah, it's a wonderful hobby. I remember right before I left to go to school for illustration, one of the bosses I had for my part-time job when I was in high school was just saying how like, oh, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I'm just so worried that like you're going to spend all this time and it's not a real job. And I remember just being so annoyed that like people thought that, but hopefully I think the world's changing. I feel like people see the importance of design and art and how much it does play a role in so many things that you wouldn't even think about. But
totally. And so you're drawing, you're loving drawing, you're loving the process of drawing, and you're excited about possibly pursuing that more.
Yeah.
Yet you have sort of a group of people around you who are more, what are you really going to do with your life? So at what point or who or when did the switch flick and you just went, nope, art, that's the direction I'm going?
In high school is when I really started focusing, like all my electives were art-based electives. And that's when I really just was zeroing in on like, this is what I want to do. And I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet, but I want to have some sort of artistic career. And I had a really awesome, supportive art teacher in high school, Mrs. Conrad. And so she actually really supported me. And she's actually the one who drove me up for an interview at PNCA for going to art school, like just having a teacher that actually drove a student to a college interview. Like that was huge. So she was awesome and super supportive and pushing me towards pursuing something that I was passionate about. So she made a really big difference in encouraging me that is something that I could pursue. Definitely.
And having somebody show you that it's possible too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is a huge thing. So Cara, what stands out to you then as the most influential design of your life so far? Some illustration or poster or design that you saw and has just stuck with you since?
So I would say there's two. When I was in high school, I really was drawn to Edward Degas' ballerinas. Not sure why, but like I just really loved the light and the texture, and that really a lot in high school. I really loved painting with a palette knife, like just very textural painting. And so I really loved the ballerinas for whatever reason. It was very just pretty and flowy and whimsical. And then the second one, it was right before I started college. I had a friend who, I don't even remember like why. I think he just saw something and he showed me and said like, oh, this made me think of you. And it was an illustration by Jen Chorus. And she does these really like beautifully imaginative. It reminds me of like a child's imagination or like the viewpoint from a child. And so it's always like people mixed with nature. And so it was a series that she did of children like playing in the woods. And so it was like trees with like little kids, but it's just really simplistic. And I was just immediately drawn to the illustration. And so that's like, and then hers was actually the first like little art show I ever went to. It was in downtown Portland. I noticed that she had an art show, and I went to that, and it was just such a fun thing to go in to this little art studio with like 15, prints on the walls. And that was kind of the first thing that made me be like, oh, I want to do this. Like, I love this. So I feel like that was a really big push too, that made me love illustration and kind of see how an artist can make a series and have a show, and just, I don't know, the fun of all of the behind the scenes of all of that stuff. So
yeah, what an incredible moment that would be, because you could see, you're playing around with this idea, you're trying to think, find where you fit and which way you want to go. And then you go see sort of the finished process, or the finished full gallery or show that's possible, or one of the ways that's possible. Like that would be a really empowering moment. Yeah.
So it was just kind of seeing some random, I think it might've been in a magazine or something, this like little illustration. And then to be able to actually go to an art show in downtown Portland in an art studio. Like, it was just really fun to see her actual art in person instead of just in a magazine or something. So that was really fun.
Yeah, what a great one. So Cara, who are some of the designers and brands that you look up to and closely follow now, and what about them do you like?
So another artist I really like that I feel like kind of has a similar feel in a lot of ways to Jen Korus is Emily Winfield Martin. She is from the Black Apple. Okay. She's actually in Portland too. And I've seen a lot of her work in a lot of different places, but she's somebody I've followed for a long time and seen a lot of her different prints at local art supply stores or little boutiques in the area. I also recently found through Instagram a magazine called Illustoria magazine, which is geared towards kids, but it's also like fun for adults too. And the different issues have different themes. Like some of them are black and white, or some of them are science or whatever. And that's really fun because it's educational, but it's also like a very big highlight on illustration and design and art. So that's really fun for me because it's a good way to find new designers and new artists and kind of see all the different styles. And being a mom, it's kind of fun to have a magazine that I enjoy and my kid can enjoy. So
yeah, so it's kind of for your kid.
Yeah, kind of, but I would totally just look at it too,
Definitely. It's somebody who you can say, no, that's for him. That kid's magazine, that's for him. That's a good one. So I want to ask a little bit about print and packaging design, which sounds like it might be fitting.
Yeah.
I want to hear how you're utilizing print and packaging in your career, and any stories around, special projects that really stand out to you.
So I when I first, saw the question, I was like, well, I feel like my career is print
yes.
and design, that's what every piece is a hand printed item.
Yeah.
So like what I sell is print. As far as packaging goes, I have very minimal packaging. It's hard. I'm torn. I love specialty packaging, and every once in a while, like if I have extra time, I'll print. I wrap everything in like recycled brown paper that before I put it in an envelope. So every once in a while, I'll go through and like print designs on the paper just so it's like extra
something
fun.
A little different. Yep.
Yeah, but I mostly at this point, I have worked with a company to have one of my illustrations on the tape that I use to package up my products. So it's like a little something special, but I mostly am trying to focus on like recycled minimal packaging with everything. I mail everything. So it's a lot of wrapping. And so I wanted to make sure I had something that could be recycled or reused. So, with my actual packaging, it's pretty minimal, but with print, I love to add little details. If I have the time, I love to like print up my brown wrapping paper with extra print. So it's just because then maybe someone could use it as gift wrap or something. So
Definitely. You're sort of creating that secondary purpose of it.
yes. So I really like practical, like useful things. So
And that's a big movement in the packaging space, is finding that secondary use, for a carton or for a box or something like that. So I'm going to ask you a really tough question. I think it's going to be really tough. Maybe you'll be able to like pull it right out. But which of your prints and illustrations is your favorite?
So I have a soft spot for a couple of the originals. Like I have a birch pattern that originally was a block print. And then when we transitioned into screen printing, like we turned it into a screen. So I love that one because it's been with me through the whole 10 years.
Yeah.
So I have a soft spot for that one, but I feel like every new image I come up with is my favorite. Like the new, the newest design is my new favorite. So I've been working a lot right now on, I've finally, after like a few years of people asking, started offering adult t-shirts. And so I also was like, well, I don't want to just, put all of the images that I just have, that I was mostly focusing on more like kitchen use or grocery bags. Not all of those would transition well to a t-shirt. So I was really wanting to do something that was a little bit more graphic for a t-shirt, but like also like positive and uplifting. I feel like there's a lot of downer news information, today. Yes. And so I was like, if I could do something that was like positive and uplifting and encouraging. So I've been trying to do a lot more positive message graphic designs for kids shirts and adult shirts. So I have a couple right now, like the Love Thy Neighbor is an image that I've done that has like two hands shaking, kind of like a traditional tattoo style. That one is one of my favorites. And then I have another one, which was one of my favorite songs, that says people over the world join hands, and it has two hands like holding. So I've been really loving doing more of a graphic t-shirt design focus, where in the past I've done like a lot of more kitchen and food related items, which I still like doing, but I've been really enjoying kind of shifting to more positive message illustrations. So
definitely,
those are my personal favorites right now. So
yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to like throw a curveball your way.
Yeah,
I just
no,
thought
that's
of, like,
fine.
I want to find out which one.
No, it's hard. I think like probably close to 100. I need to go through and kind of weed out some of the ones that are older and don't sell as well as they used to, but I have a lot. I almost have too many. So.
I don't think there's such thing as too many.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep creating. So, Cara, the next few questions I have for you take you down the parts of your career where you've likely made some mistakes, learned some lessons, and I want to pull those stories out and share those with the listeners.
Okay.
So let's start with, what has been the most challenging period of time in your career so far? Why was it challenging, and how did you get through it?
So I feel like that for me is probably a pretty relatable thing to a lot of other people. And that was when my son was born. Just the balance, like I work for myself, I work from home, and finding that new balance between parenthood and a career I really love. And so I won't lie, it took a couple years of not really making anything new. It was kind of just survival mode of filling and sending orders, and any spare time I had wasn't put into like a new product or a new image. It was just kind of like doing what I needed to do to keep the business going. And so it's just a shuffle, because when I'm with my son, I'm like, I love being with him, but I'm like, oh, I have all the stuff I want to do for my business. But when I'm working, I'm like, oh, all I want to do is be with my son. So that was just like a really hard period of time. He's going to be 5 in March. And so he's in pre-K now, and he'll be in kindergarten next year. So, I mean, I feel like I've had a whole, like him being in school during the day. So it's like, oh, I have all this time. I'm not used to again, but it's been really awesome to be able to like actually pursue ideas and designs and everything I've had building up for all of this time. But I think that there's just different seasons of life for people. And so that was just kind of a difficult balance, like trying to figure out the right balance of work and family and having to work late at night or early in the morning or over nap time to get stuff done. So that was probably like one of the most challenging times, trying to figure out how to balance it all. But I feel like that's something every parent talks about. So
Yeah,
it's relatable. It's relatable.
for sure. And I totally, I could not be more aligned on the thought of, when you're working, like, oh, I feel like I should be spending time with my kids. And then when you're spending time with your kids, like, oh, I have so much work to do. It's this balance of trying to be present.
Yeah.
And have the confidence in knowing that you have time set aside for both.
Yeah.
But when they're really little, that is hard because there's no schedule. It's just, you get what you get and you work in between.
I know. I was looking back through old pictures, and my husband took a video of me screen printing once, and I realized like, oh yeah, I was just wearing my son like in the front carrier. And I was like, I remember just, like working and wearing him at the same time. And like, it was hard because, it's like front weight, your back hurts and everything. But I was like, man, that was so easy to just be able to strap him on and get stuff done, now you can't do that anymore.
No, they can run around and reach the knives now. So
can get into lots of trouble really fast.
Got it. So I want to get a little bit more specific now, and I'm interested to hear your story on this one because you haven't done a ton of client work. A lot of your work is for yourself and for the business. So, you're almost your own client, I guess, which can be equally as difficult.
Yeah.
So I want to get more specific. Can you take us to a design or a particular piece or project that you were creating or a part of that did not go well or bring the desired result? And what was that like? How did that feel? Can you take us to that story?
I've definitely had a couple product ideas that I have been really excited about. And I thought like, oh, this is going to be huge. This is going to be really popular. This is going to be awesome. Everyone's going to love it as much.
We're going to go. Yeah.
And then it like just flopped. So, and it's like hard. So, I've always done printing on fabric, like I do tea towels and reusable produce bags and t-shirts and baby clothes. And so I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll do a paper goods line. Maybe I'll sell actual prints or note cards or notepads. And I was really excited about it. And I like went out and bought all of the equipment, high quality printers. And I just thought this was going to be like this huge thing and it was going to change the way that I worked. It was right around the time our son was born, and like, oh, I could just work from inside the house and just all these ideas of how awesome it was going to be. And it just totally did not do well.
Really?
Really. And like, you never know. I feel like I love it. Other people will love it, but you never really know. And another one, I thought crib sheets. I had crib sheets and I thought, oh, these printed crib sheets would do so well. And that kind of flopped too. So it wasn't necessarily the images as much as just the product type, or I don't even really know what it was, but it feels terrible. When you fail at something, it never really feels great. I don't know if I could call it that I failed at something, but with what I do, since it's so personal to me, like everything that I make is an extension of myself. I feel like that's the truth with any artist or designer. So when something doesn't do well, it feels personal. Why don't you like me? Why don't you like part of me?
Why are you rejecting me?
Yes. So, I've just had a couple ideas that I thought were going to be huge and be so great that just totally flopped and weren't good sellers or weren't popular or just didn't seem to get the attention that I thought they were going to. And so, it's just, that's kind of the hard thing of realizing it's not personal. You know, you just gotta find a different idea. And just because someone else has like a super successful paper line doesn't mean that that's going to be the thing that sticks out in my line or what I offer. So I feel like trying to just find what makes my brand me and unique versus seeing what's doing well for other people. And then maybe like not pursuing those ideas just because it's successful for someone else. So that's been, those have been like the bigger things that I've tried and was really excited about, but just didn't quite work out the way I thought. I have had a couple people reach out to do some custom images that when they first contact me, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. I'd love to work on that. Like this was years and years ago, but a client reached out and wanted to come up with a design for her friend's bachelorette party.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, I don't even remember what the original idea was, but it was something that I thought like, oh yeah, that'd be interesting. That sounds fun. I'd like to work on it. And I don't know how, but like I would draw some stuff and send it to her, and it just kind of snowballed into a completely different idea where she wanted this image on an apron that just said like Monica's bachelorette party. And then like, when in doubt, add more wine or something. And it was just like not the original idea at all. And I remember like at the end of it, I mean, she was happy with it. So like, that's a success if your client's happy. But I remember just feeling like, what happened here? Like, this isn't what we originally talked about at all. But yeah, kind of sometimes just needing to have, again, like a disconnect of like, maybe this isn't what I love, but if the client's happy, then like, I guess it's a success. But so just kind of rolling with what your client wants, even if it's not necessarily your personal style or design. But so yeah, I've done a couple things like that where I'm like, how did I get here? What is this? But
got it.
Yeah.
So Cara, I'm going to turn the bus around now for you.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me about a project that you've been a part of that you are the most proud of. One that just makes your heart sing.
Okay. So this is when I first like read this question when you sent it to me. The first thing that kind of jumped out at my mind, it's a little bit of a build-up story, but after I'd been working as in illustration and printmaking for almost a year, it was the first time that someone reached out to me and was interested in wholesaling my products for their store.
Nice.
And I remember like just kind of being like thrown off, like, oh, I didn't even think about this being an option to like wholesale products to little stores around, the country.
Yeah.
And so it was like flattering, and it kind of gave me the boost of confidence I needed to think like, this is my career. I can make this my job. And
yes,
I can feel legitimate when people ask what I do. I can be like, this is what I do. I'm an illustrator, I'm a printmaker, and other people carry my stuff in their stores. And so I just remember feeling like that was what really gave me this boost of confidence into feeling like a real artist, And so a couple years went by, and then this new show was on TV, and we kept hearing this name, my husband and I, and we're like, why does that name sound so familiar? And it was Fixer Upper with Joanna Gaines.
Yeah.
And we're like, Joanna Gaines, why does that name sound so familiar? And I realized that she was our first wholesaler.
No way.
And we're like, we talked to her on the phone, like back, it was like back obviously before her show. But so it's like, I didn't know it at the time, but that was, not only did having my very first wholesaler kind of, like I said, make me feel like a legitimate artist or like I'm successful, but like then years later finding out, oh, it was Joanna Gaines who liked my stuff enough to wholesale it for her shop. It like, that's kind of the thing that I'm like, oh, Joanna Gaines liked my stuff.
That's so cool. See, that's like a perfect design for a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Joanna Gaines liked my stuff.
Yeah, Joanna Gaines, like my stuff. So I feel like that's kind of one of the big, I mean, I would say she's obviously our biggest client we've ever had. It was before she was who she is now. But it just, I feel like that was kind of the thing that made me feel legitimized as an artist or a designer. So that's kind of my favorite story to tell people, because everyone's like, no way, it's Joanna Gaines. But
what a great reinforcing moment for your business, for sure.
Yeah. So that was pretty awesome.
Nice. I like that one, Cara. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, you've reached the point of the show for the Ask It Forward question.
Okay.
That is where I have a mystery question for you from my last guest, and you get the opportunity to ask a question of my next guest. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but you can ask them anything. So my last guest was Thomas J. Stevens from TJS Designs out of Newport in the UK. He's an independent designer, and he wanted to ask you, oh, this is so fitting. I love this. Perfect. Perfect symmetry.
Good.
What is one thing you want to achieve this year that you will regret if you do not achieve it?
Okay. I would really love to rebuild my website.
Nice.
I know that doesn't maybe sound that glamorous, but
it's a big deal.
And it's something I've been wanting to do. I feel like the last 2 years when I've been like business goals for the new year, it's been like rebuild my website, and I've never done it. But I would really love to just kind of have a fresh start, because like I said, when my son was born, I kind of just went on survival mode. I don't feel like I really have updated anything in the last 4.5, 5 years. So that is a really big goal of mine. I'd really love to clean out a lot of old designs and offer new stuff, and just have a fresh place for people to like come and be able to see my brand and who I am and what I offer and what I stand for and all those things. So I would really like to be able to accomplish that.
I like that goal.
So
awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to make a note to follow up with you to make sure that that's done.
I know. I was like, oh, great. Now I said it. And
now you've said it out loud.
People can check in on.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody will listen to this episode in a year from now and be like, I better send her a message over Instagram.
I know. It doesn't look any different to me.
Cara, what is the question you would like me to ask the next guest for you?
So I would like to know, just because I like to get other people's tips and tricks, when you kind of hit a wall for inspiration, when you just are kind of don't have the creative juices flowing like you'd like to, what are some things that you do to help get inspired or clear your head to be able to have some new ideas come in, or at least like alleviate the pressure of feeling like I have to come up with something right now? Sometimes I'll just hit that wall, and I don't even really know what I do. So I like to hear what other people do to kind of help clear their mind and how to get inspiration going when you've hit a wall.
Totally. I love it. I'm going to ask that of the next guest. Cara, you've reached the end of the Quickie Podcast. Thank you so much for being my guest today. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.